Today we're in the test kitchen upgrading instant ramen.
I love everything about instant ramen. I mean, what's not to love?
When I think of instant ramen, I think of kind of coil, wavy noodles that cook virtually instantly.
It brings everything to me, nostalgia, what I grew up eating.
It's one of those pantry staples. You can elevate it or you can keep it as simple as you'd like.
Spicy, umami, texture, crunch.
So simple, so approachable. Anyone can make a good meal with it.
Oh, you have to slurp.
Yeah,
You gotta slurp. It's hot, it's cooked, let's go. Like slurp, slurp, slurp.
Slurp it
Yeah.
Nobody needed to see that.
I love instant ramen because it's a blank canvas. I've made a lot of mistakes with instant ramen, especially with ketchup in instant ramen. That's disgusting. I'm upgrading top ramen chicken flavor. This is the one that I always have in my house. I'm upgrading the ramen by creating a flavorful broth. You can start with bonito flakes and kombu, kind of like a dashi style. This is gonna give me a very umami flavor profile, and for protein, I'm adding soy eggs, which I always have in my house. I really like my broth spicy. Some of this chili crisp, the color appeals to me also when it turns red. I like to have a condiment like liquid gold and have a little texture there with a little crispy garlic, a little bit of toasted sesame, and then some nori sheets over the top. I mean, this is the way I like to eat my top ramen. I think it's super simple, it's flavorful, straight to the point. All right, first what we want to do is put the vegetable stock in. We're gonna put our bonito, our kombu. We're also gonna put MSG. I love it. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, it says no added MSG. So we're basically like making dashi. And it's kind of a base for a lot of soups in Japanese culture. So the broth has come to a boil. We're gonna turn it off. So I'm gonna strain it. I love kind of that fishy, umami kind of flavor there. So I'm gonna use fish sauce as our salt situation. I'm just do a couple of dabs. It's seasoned. It's not salty. So now drop your ramen in there. I learned a lot about cooking through instant ramen, really tell you the truth. You know, what makes sense, doesn't make sense. Tomatoes and ramen don't make sense, you know what I'm saying? All right, game changer. What I'm looking for is making sure I still have broth. That's key. Everything is ready to go from my experience of making Michelin star food. Yeah. All right, so you wanna build the canvas with the noodle. You don't get crazy and put the broth right in there, okay? You gotta build it up first. Especially doing this in front of the ladies. You want them to see the art and the technique of making instant ramen. It's just not putting a packet with water and the flavorings in this, you know? There's a lot of love and care that goes into this. All right, next, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna go ahead and put our soy eggs, which are, amazing. So these are 6-minute eggs that have been cured in soy sauce. We're gonna go ahead and add our nori sheets, and then this chili crisp. This is spicy on the side right there. There's confit garlic, some seasonings in there, garlic oil, all type of stuff. A little bit of sesame seasoning on my eggs, a couple of sprigs of cilantro just for greenery. And then we add the broth itself. And then I always eat it with a side of rice because I'm a G like that. Boom. Instant ramen by your boy Uncle Harold. Come see me. So good. All of it is really balanced correctly. Spicy, texture, crunch, it's all in there. And if I'm looking for a little bit of saltiness, I break this egg up. And then the best part is, the broth is amazing. I mean, I feel great about this ramen because it's the ramen I had last week. It's the same shit.
I'm honored and humbled to introduce Nong Shim's Shin Ramen. Truly canon, in my opinion. The flavor is spicy. So it has like a dried spicy chili powder, but it also has these dried flavor pellets, kind of like dehydrated vegetables and so forth. I love it. I love the texture. I grew up eating it, and nostalgia is incredibly provocative and powerful for taste, right? So if this is something that you grew up on, it evokes so much more than just like nourishment. The flavor is already gourmet spicy. We don't need to put any more gourmet things in here. It's already perfect. So my thing is about timing, and my thing is about execution. It's about the amount of water, it's about how long the noodle's going for. You know, it's really hard to eat these noodles without kimchi for me. The pairing, this is it. This is my peanut butter and jelly. So this is how I make it. We have about 1.5 cups of water in here. That's gonna come up to a boil really fast. So we got the dried soup base. I dropped that in here first. You're making that broth. I like it tighter, I like it spicier, so that's why I'm using less water than it specifies. And then we have vegetable mix. Ooh, umami. No, it actually does smell like mushrooms. So these are gonna be like dried scallions and onions. Now we got the soup base going. I just dropped my egg in here. And you're gonna see the whites of the eggs kind of surrounded and cook and fully poach. Just a gel texture of the yolk is what I want. I want to be able to pick it up with my chopsticks, taste it. So this is when I add the noodles. I let the noodles go for about 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's doing its thing. It's getting submerged in this beautiful boiling liquid. I'm kind of moving it around a little bit just to see where it's at in terms of texture. Indeed, gourmet spicy is what I'm picking up. DJ gourmet spicy. Okay, so I'm gonna pull it. Oh my God, look at this egg right here. Okay. I love the way that the egg's set and is intact. There's broth, but not too much of it. I know this is the color I want. It's a fiery, gourmet, spicy red. Boom, right there. That's what I want. I want to be able to pick it up. So good. It's just like a great vehicle for kimchi. Getting in here like this. Slurping. I would pull the noodles, for me, definitely earlier than you think. Because again, it's gonna continue to cook in that broth. You don't really need to do a lot. This is like a ripe fruit at its perfect temperature almost. Like the more simple, for me, that's the better experience. Sometimes what I'll do is eat all the noodles, save the egg, put the rice in here, and then you have an egg, rice, gourmet spicy broth experience.
Usually when I make instant ramen, I will use the noodles as a shortcut to like a really flavorful noodle dish. It's the ability to have that like that wonderful chew and that texture that I really go for. And stay with me here, but I thought like, why not like use them as a way of making cacio e pepe? I know that we've already reached peak cacio, but I think these noodles and even the flavor packet, like honestly, I wanna see like a little pinch of that in with that pecorino, like butter and like black peppery, like saucy mixture. And that's part of the reason that I did the soy sauce flavor, just something that's like pretty like neutral base, but soy, umami, salt, I think all of it's gonna play pretty nicely together. We're gonna blend up half of this cheese. Now this is pecorino. Between Parm and pecorino, I generally prefer Parmesan, but pecorino is power. It's like really funky, it's really salty, it's aggressive. So next thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna do a little bit of salt in the water. Salt is gonna be an issue in this dish, potentially at least, because the pecorino is so high in salt, and then any amount of the flavor packet, there again, like, yikes, you know? I want a couple teaspoons of black peppercorn, and we're gonna toast it just to kind of release some of those aromatics, the oils in the peppercorn. That's just arresting the toasting of the pepper, and that's gonna form the foundation of our sauce. So now we take a little bit of butter and start working up an emulsion here. It takes a little bit of work to do. You need constant motion. You don't just want the butter to melt. At this point, you can start working in some cheese. I want to add enough pasta water to keep this pretty fluid. If anything, I'm going to keep it on the wet side because water's being driven off as we're doing this. All right, while that is finishing coming together, I'm going to drop the noodles in. All right, so it's starting to break apart. Gotta fight the tendency to wanna like pluck them apart too soon. I wanna put a little bit of this soy sauce flavor packet in here. I just wanna taste this like as is with that little bit of flavor packet added. Doing like the crazy arms. Yeah, it's fun. So I just wanna keep this a little bit on the saucy side. I wanna make sure these fully come together. And the noodle, as it continues to cook a little bit, is going to pick up some of that moisture. We'll take a little more cheese. You know, it's a good time to make some adjustments. You know, we definitely kept the noodle a little bit on the more toothsome side, but I think we're gonna be in good shape. Okay, we're there. I feel really good about this. Sauce is clinging. Scallions, just like that pop of freshness, just like cutting through. A touch more black pepper. Nobody needed to see that. This is so good. And you know what? Honestly, as an eating experience, it's like everything is in every single mouthful. Black pepper, the pecorino, and the soy working together. Yes, is it an off-label use? You know, not exactly street legal. I'll give you that. But I think it's also super fun, it's super delicious, and we didn't have to do much to nudge it off in a completely different direction.
Today I'm making instant ramen and I'm using kind of fresh instant ramen by Sun Noodles. This is the pork flavor. I love dried noodles too, but when I want just something a little bit closer to what I would get in a restaurant, I opt for these. So this way of ramen is my go-to. I almost always have eggs, garlic, chili crisp. It's important to me to just add some green to my ramen to make it a little bit more healthier for me. And then some mushrooms. To start, I'm gonna take my noodles to the stove and we're gonna fry up our pork. So I'm just gonna heat up the pot and then dump this in there. So you could use a non-stick pot, that's fine, but I want the pork to kind of crisp up a little bit more and I want that fond to develop at the bottom of the pot because fond is flavor. You don't wanna waste it, and I'm gonna use the same pot to make our broth. So let it cook undisturbed for about 3 to 4 minutes, and you can see it's already starting to kind of brown. This is the longest part of making this ramen. It's worth it. It's honestly low effort for a lot of payout in terms of flavor and texture. I think I'm ready to get this out of the pan. Fish this out. I'm gonna go ahead and add my chopped garlic and some scallion. I don't want to brown the garlic and scallions. I just want it to kind of warm through and lose that raw quality. And then we're going to add this little kind of pasty situation. It smells so flavorful. It's super savory. You know, because it's the pork flavor, you can really get that pork smell in there. Ready to add this in. And I'm going to add water. And that is going to kind of help release all of that brown caramelization. I'm going to let this come up to a gentle simmer, and while that happens, let's cook our noodles. Just make sure to spread them out, otherwise they'll clump in. Jiggle them around a little bit. Texturally, I like thin noodles in my ramen. Ooh, look at how stretchy and bouncy they were. You won't get this from the dried kind. Not cute. This is great. Our noodles are done. I'm gonna use the same water to cook my greens. We have YuChen here, super delicious Chinese green, similar to bok choy. This doesn't need too long, about a minute. I'm gonna go to my broth for just a second. I'm gonna add the soy sauce. The soy sauce is gonna add obviously a little bit of saltiness and some umami kind of depth of flavor. I think the YuChen is done. This is definitely on the crunchier side, but you do you and cook it longer if you want it to be soft. Time to plate. Ready. You don't have a lot of time once your noodles are cooked because the longer they sit, you know, they're gonna start sticking together. You don't want to let them get to that point. So, okay, I'm gonna top with some crunchy pork, enoki mushrooms, the YuChen right here. This is a 6 to 6.5 minute egg. It's going to be super jammy inside. The white is so properly set. Look at that. Okay, and that is also going to make the broth even more creamier. The yolk is gonna get all mixed in. So good. Scallion it up. And then lots of chili crisp. I like a lot of it. There she is, ready to be slurped. Please enjoy my non-existent chopstick skills. That's so good. I can really taste the garlic and scallions and having the chewiness of the ramen and having some crunch with your vegetables. It's just so satisfying and comforting, and I know I ate something delicious, and that makes me happy.
So everybody knows Nissin top ramen. This is like the bougie version of Nissin ramen. It is the soy sauce flavor. I love it. If you just wanted to throw this together in literally water, it would still be really good. But for me, I like to really upgrade my ramen and give it a nice umami punch. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is just give this broth a little shake. It's a little bit thicker than normal stock, so I think that adds value to this dish very well. I also have some sauteed garlic and scallions. It brings out the flavor and the aromatics really well. We're gonna add some white miso. It's just gonna elevate it and give it that ramen flavor that we all love. I also have some red pepper flakes. I like to sweat. I like to just shovel the ramen in my mouth and have sweat beads down my face. If you're not doing that, you're not doing it right. We've got a little more soy sauce. And I also have some mirin here. As I'm a plant-based chef, I love to integrate some of my favorite elements such as mushrooms. Maitake mushrooms go really well with this dish. I have Eden brand nori here, and all I'm gonna do is cut the nori into strips, and I'm saving some for the end just to top the ramen. All right, so I'm just gonna allow my ramen to come to a rolling boil, but I also have some really fun additions as well, such as some yuba here, which is dried tofu skins. They kind of have a new umami flavor of their own that I can't quite describe, but I wish you could smell it. Oh, that smells damn good. So in other ramen brands, you'll usually have a dehydrated like spice packet inside, but this one actually just came with soy sauce. Personally, I think it makes for a very rich broth. It imparts additional saltiness. Again, I know it's very salty. It's not like I eat ramen every night. But I really like my ramen to be extremely salty. In goes my noodles. There's so many flavors in it. You don't really need to let the broth simmer or cook for so very long. And I think that's really special because most really great broths take time. Our noodles are almost ready. I want them to have a nice bite to them. At this time, I'm gonna add my favorite green, my little baby bok choys. And what I'm gonna do is allow these to kind of cook into that broth for a little bit. Our yuba is rehydrated. I just wanna show you here. It's like the dried ones, they kind of cut into these spirally chunks. So it adds a really nice textural chew to the dish. You didn't see that. I'm gonna remove my bok choy now. Our ramen is ready and we can remove it from the heat and get to plating. I feel very good about these. So we're just gonna dump that in gently. Oh, that's beautiful already. So the first thing I'm actually gonna do here is add my Scotch bonnet pepper oil. What I did is I threw like a cup of olive oil on the stovetop with about 5 pierced Scotch bonnet peppers, which are super, super spicy. So I'm just using this little dropper. A little bit goes a long way. Like I added a lot, but if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Next up, some of these bok choy babies. The egg always looks so beautiful in ramen, so I'm really compensating here, you know what I mean? Coming back with the nori sheets, some seared maitake mushrooms. These are a delicious add-in to any ramen. It's all about the mushrooms every day, all the time. So I have some crispy fried shallots here. I love having a crunchy element to every meal. Some fresh chopped scallion. And we've got some furikake seasoning. It's just gonna give a little punch to the top. A little more red pepper flakes. Mostly for the color pop. This is gonna be spicy and absolutely delicious. Let's really get in there. I can't even. The noodles have the perfect texture. A little bit chewy, but not overly chewy, and they're not falling apart. And I'm still tasting the spice from the Scotch bonnet oil on the back end. And I slowly feel sweat beads forming on my head, and that means I've done it right. But the bok choy kind of brings you in. Brings you back to home base, neutralizes all of those flavors, and then you go in for some more. So, gotta say, this is some damn good, oh, see, the fail's happening. This is some damn good ramen.
So this is a very specific instant ramen. This is from Taiwan. It's called Weili Jiajiangmen, which is Weili brand instant noodles with jiajiang flavors. Jiajiang is fried sauce. It's like fermented bean paste sort of flavor. So what's so special about this one is that it comes with soup. What that means is it has a brick of noodle, and 2 like different seasoning packet. One is to flavor your noodles, and another one is to make a bowl of soup with it. Most of these things I have on hand at all times, so it's an easy way for me to like use my produce. And also I love seaweed so much because it's dry, so it never goes bad. I'm the type of person, because I cook so much for work, I don't actually spend much time cooking for myself. So what's important for me when it comes to instant noodle is that I want convenient. I want something that comes together really fast. First thing, we have 2 cups of water measured out here. I'm gonna open this up and take out the flavoring packet. This is the paste packet for the noodles. Just gonna squeeze it in here. It's gonna really nicely cling onto the noodles once the noodle is like cooked and hot. We're gonna toss it in the sauce. And in addition to the paste, we're gonna add some raw garlic to it. And now we wait for the water to boil. Boil. Water's boiling. So this is a noodle block. We're gonna add this to our boiling water. And I wanna try to start to loosen up the noodles a little bit as it cooks. I like the noodles to be al dente, just a little more on chewier side. Sometimes the instructions are there for a reason. Just like that, into this bowl. Now we're just gonna mix it together with the paste and the raw garlic. And you wanna make sure the garlic is like evenly distributed, so you won't have one bite with very pungent garlic. Now, I'm gonna quickly blanch our bean sprout. For me, when I'm having a ramen meal, I feel guilty because it's like not the healthiest thing to have. So I always like want to make sure I have some sort of fresh vegetable in it. And this is my attempt of adding some fresh vegetable into my meal. Nutrition. We're gonna add our soup packet, which is all the seasoning you need in this soup. It's entirely different flavor from the noodles. Dehydrated scallion, and I'm sure there's some nice MSG in there. And now we're gonna drop the egg in there, nice and slowly, and doing a little like circle so the eggs has some space to expand and cooked. And once the eggs are set, just grab the seaweed and kind of break it apart. This is also my attempt of adding vegetable into my meal. Well, now our seaweed egg drop soup is done. So we're gonna plate the noodles. It's still nice and hot. Amazing. Next, we're gonna put our bean sprout just on the side, and then a nice fried egg. Anything is good when it's topped with egg. We're gonna sprinkle some green onion, and then we're gonna drizzle it with some nice toasted sesame oil. And final little touch, I love this chili sauce. It's from the restaurant 886. It's more of like adding flavor than adding heat, which I like. We're gonna pour this soup in here. Whoop. You can also garnish it with some scallion. And a nice drop of sesame oil. And there you have it. What I love about this is how cheap, how little money, and how fast everything comes together. This is making me want beer. It has very rich flavor. It's like fermenty, umami, very, very savory. It has some punchiness from the raw garlic that was like a part of the sauce. I like to, go like back and forth between the two, because this is like a brothless noodle, so it's nice to have a side of soup on the side. But the flavor in this soup is, I would say, on the lighter side, and this one, it's richer. So this soup complements it really well. It's very satisfying, very, very comforting, and it's kind of reminding me of home. I used to eat it a lot as a college student. It's a very cheap meal to make, and nutrition-wise, it's pretty balanced. You got some carb, you got some fat, you got some protein, vegetable, spot on.
You thought I like raw noodles when I cooked it. You could actually eat the whole thing raw. I just put the spicy mix in here, close it up here, and you like bash it a little bit, and then you kind of shake it up. shake and bake. Then what you have is a crunchy, gourmet, spicy snack. And you can just eat it like this.